story about ICANN, which is the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. It's a nonprofit organization which is run by technocrats, and the United States cut it loose. We didn't renew our contract with them, thereby making it a totally independent agency, but it needs to roost somewhere. It's floating around. It's a free agent looking for a home. And where will it find that home? And probably in the United Nations, which is currently making a play to become a host to ICANN. And see, my worry about this, I'll get my guest on, then we'll talk about it. We were going to discuss that right now. Pat Wood is back with us again, expert on sustainable development, green ecology, Agenda 21, the Trilateral Commission. He's also editor-in-chief of Technocracy News. My big, as I see this thing running, here's the deal, Pat. Here's the way it is, Tiger. The politicos around the world now after Brexit, given all of the troubles that Germany is having and the incredible backlash against Angela Merkel, and what we have had happen here in the United States with what I'm calling the Trexit, you know, the Trump Brexit, is that the powers that be and the media powers that be have become aware of the fact that their problem is that they are no longer the gatekeepers of information and people are no longer believing them. And they know they have to shut this down. That's why they had that secret meeting that you and I are both aware of between the European Union's powers that be and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube about how we were going to cut back on this hate speech and incitement. Now, you and I also both know that hate speech and incitement very rapidly becomes some political position you don't want to allow. We're already seeing this, by the way, on Facebook, where things get censored by their algorithms, we are told, because they represent one side of an issue, say the issue of radical Islamists coming into the United States or something like that. So my fear now is that you give this to the UN, they're going to start imposing those standards, and they're going to begin shutting down websites in the guise of hate speech. It'll be censorship on the internet. I don't know why, for me, this was so easy to see coming. So what say you, and how does this work in with what the technocrats are going to do to try to build this new order they keep talking about?
Well, John, the straw man, in my opinion, of this whole issue has been censorship. And the reason I say that is that China already censors heavily. In fact, they throw you in jail if you say anything against a dear leader. So does North Korea. So does Saudi Arabia and all the Islamic countries in the Mideast. They all censor extensively. And if we had the political will to censor here in our nation, we wouldn't have to go and get permission from ICANN to do that. You can do it right now if you wanted to. So censorship is really not the proper issue. I think it was put up as a straw man, figuring that somehow ICANN could provide censorship to the internet. That's really not what they do. They're an inventory and cataloging service for things that exist out on the internet. That's what they do. For instance, if you have a website, I do too. Our website, we have a registrar. It's called a registrar. And you have to go there when you sign up for a name. You have to go there and put in all kinds of information, your address, your name, your hat size, your telephone number, all that kind of stuff. And ICANN is the one that stores that information and associates it with your specific IP address, which is like a telephone number, sort of, with your particular website. That's their function, inventory and then monitoring and then control as well. And so if you look at where the internet is going right now with the Internet of Things, the possibility for the very first time in the world is that everything in the world that has a chip in it is going to have a discrete IP address, just like your website. And there will be information associated with that IP address, like who owns it, where is it located physically? Is it in your house? For instance, is a camera in your house? Or maybe your thermostat, or maybe your car rolling down the road is one of those devices. They're going to collect information on that IP address and where it is, who owns it, and everything they can get about it. They will catalog that information. And if this happens on a global basis, which is exactly what it is right now, can you imagine that somebody has a master database like this with conceivably every chipped thing in the world stored in it with that kind of knowledge? Can you imagine the power that it would influence, that it would affect by the people who control it? As just inconceivable data that could be used in an inappropriate way And of course, why would we trust the United Nations to do anything in an appropriate way? If they get a hold of it, they will be controlling virtually the entire digital world. And that's very bothersome. I think that's what this is all about.
Which means everything. I mean, commerce, you name it, everything.
Which means everything. And I know this is way beyond people's ability to understand. And you remember the book Future Shock by Toffler. He said that there's going to be a time when all this stuff looks like magic. Nobody can understand it. The future comes at you so fast that you can't, get your head around it. But the former addressing system, the telephone numbering system, only consisted of 4 blocks of 3 digits with a period in between them. And everybody, well, not everybody, it's kind of like a phone number, but anybody that's close to the digital world at all understands what an IP address is. That's Internet Protocol IP address. It's very much like a telephone number. But the problem is they ran out of numbers several years ago. So there's been all kinds of jury rigging that's gone on in the computer world to kind of fake the thing out. For instance, like a big company, like say, I don't know, has 5,000 employees. That big company might only have one IP address for the company, and that's where their website is, other stuff, and email. But internally in that company, they will turn around and they will issue a set of private numbers that cannot be seen from the outside. So you have to go through that corporate gateway to get to all the 5,000 people on the inside of that corporation.
Yeah, so the corporation only has one outside IP address, and then the server, when stuff comes in and goes out, like emails, et cetera, has to interpolate between what's coming in there. What's coming into them, and then send it to the right computer on their network.
That's exactly right. And you, as an outsider, you cannot touch that internal IP address without getting through that gateway. You can't touch it now, unless you're a hacker, of course. If you're a hacker and you find a way through that's not authorized, of course, yes, you can hack yourself to death in there, I guess.
That's what firewalls are all about. All right, but now we've done this, Pat. We've turned ICANN loose, and it's floating around the world looking for a home. And the most logical home it would wind up is at the United Nations. So what can you do about this, yeah?
Well, yeah. The new numbering system that ICANN developed a few years ago is called IPv6, and it's going to replace the old system called IPv4, which is Internet Protocol with 4 blocks of numbers. Now they're going to have 6 blocks of numbers, and this has been rolling out slowly, but as the Internet of Things has picked up, it's gaining momentum. And the deal with IPv6 is this. It provides numbers, discrete numbers, so vastly outnumbering the original. It's just inconceivable. The new numbering system will provide 3.4 times 10 to the 38th power addresses. It's too big for me. I don't know how you pronounce a number like that, but this is essentially 340 trillion.
The name is squazillion. That's the term for it. Yeah, it's just so many squazillion numbers. Right, okay.
That's right. Well, it's 340 trillion followed by 24 zeros. That's a lot of numbers. And the way I look at it, they're going to be able to assign numbers to every device on Earth for the next 300 or 400 years. It's just huge. So once the Internet of Things really gets rolling, and it's gaining momentum right now, it's starting to really catch fire. This is expected to be as much as an $11 trillion market by 2025. That's only 9 years away. It's a huge market. This is sneaking up on people. They don't see how big it really is. And that means wherever there's money, go where the money is. If the United Nations gets a hold of this and gets a hold of a market this big, they will figure out a way to tax it this time. And as a potential source of revenue, it is just immense.
And what we're saying here, I think the governments of the world also understand that they're having a problem. State governments, say, for example, here, I don't know about provincial governments in Canada, but they understand that there are sales going on, such as Amazon and a lot of people you buy from online, that people aren't really paying their fair share. Oh, I used that. Just a minute. Hold on a second. I used that term just a minute. Okay, thank you. They're not paying their fair share in use tax. You're supposed to pay use tax when you buy something offline and it comes into you. There was a proposal to come up with an internet sales tax, and you understand that you'd be selling into every single state and county or parish in the country. And if you were a vendor and having to collect the proper sales tax for each of those venues and or cities, small business people were going, what? We can't do this. And they said, well, we'll give you some software to let you calculate. I don't want to calculate it. I've got my automated software that collects subscriptions or, whatever we sell, and I can't fit your software to mine. So that thing died. What they want to do is have something that's self-fueling here. In other words, it'll be just a constant source of revenue, which is why, by the way, there's always this push on international transactions, and there was a push on the part of the Clinton campaign to tax. And it sounds like we're going to get the Wall Street people. In reality, you're taxing people who are retired and need that money for living on in retirement, a limited budget. So you're saying now every little device on the planet will have a discrete IP address under the IP6 code, and no other unit on the face of the planet is going to have that IP address. So we're not hiding behind firewalls. And if I could zoom that out a bit, you can always say, John, shut up.
I'll try that sometime.
It does work. I guess, okay, fine, I'll shut up. We have these smart light bulbs, and they have Wi-Fi capability inside of them. And so you can Wi-Fi right from your cell phone and turn a light bulb on or off, or make it go different colors,
That's right.
Anything. And you know what else they found, Pat? They found that's a total break into somebody's firewall system, because now you can get into the whole system through the stupid light bulb.
The light bulb.
Somebody sitting outside your house can get into your computer system. Or these smart homes. I don't know if you've been watching Madam Secretary with Tia Leone. Remember their house was a smart house, and somebody hacked it, and all of a sudden the lights go off and start going crazy. And, you got to think about this. There is no system that is not hackable.
No, not at all. This is a hacker's paradise.
So where are we going now?
Well, the two issues probably that we could look at, one is the ability to inventory and control, and the other is to develop a source of income. The source of income at this point is probably secondary, but the real prize here is the ability to have this information of all the devices in the world. It's huge. I mean, my mind just races. I probably could write a small book just on this thing. You remember the Jade Helm exercise that took place down here in Phoenix?
Yeah.
This was a beta test of software to exercise what they call geospatial geography. They're not happy just figuring out where your home is on a grid on a map or whatever, but they want to track the people, the individuals as individuals and as groups, and they call this this is geospatial intel. And they figure if they can monitor people's movements and groups of people's movements, that's interesting intelligence to them, that this allows them to control society a little bit more.
All right, stop for a second, Pat. Remember that part where I told you could tell me to shut up? Well, Pat, shut up. I got to do a station break. Talking to Pat Wood right now from Technocracy.news. He's author of Technocracy Rising, the Trojan Horse of Global Transformation. We'll be back. We're at SteelOnSteel.com this Thanksgiving weekend. I'm John Leffler. The program is Steel on Steel.